Thylacine, Tasmanian tiger. You are supposed to be gone. The last confirmed thylacine died in a Hobart Zoo on September 7, 1936, locked in an enclosure too small to pace, dead from neglect on a cold spring night. Scientists declared your species extinct within weeks. The file was closed. And yet, over 3,800 sightings of your kind have been reported across Tasmania and mainland Australia since that night. Farmers report a striped, dog-shaped animal with a stiff kangaroo-like tail. Park rangers describe a jaw that opens nearly 90 degrees wide, a feature no living predator shares. People who have never seen a preserved specimen describe exactly what you look like. Tasmania's southwest wilderness covers 1.5 million hectares. Entire valleys have never been formally surveyed. In 2019, researchers from James Cook University began quietly reviewing the most credible reports, stating some were not inconsistent with thylacine behavior. The world spent $27 million on a de-extinction program, just in case you're already gone. No one has confirmed you're dead. No one has confirmed you're alive. You are the most wanted animal on Earth, and you're not talking. Megalodon. You are the reason people are afraid of the ocean. At 18 meters long and 50 tons, you were the largest predatory fish that ever lived, built to hunt whales the size of buses. Your teeth measured 18 centimeters. Your bite force reached 180,000 newtons, roughly 10 times the force of a great white shark. You ruled the oceans for 20 million years. Scientists say you went extinct 3.6 million years ago, and the argument for your survival is almost certainly wrong. Your prey, large baleen whales, is everywhere in today's oceans. If you were still hunting them, we would find the evidence. Half-consumed 30-ton whales do not disappear quietly. The deep ocean covers 70% of the planet and reaches 11 kilometers down, and researchers have flagged unusually unweathered fossil teeth from the ocean floor that raised questions about your timeline. Those specific claims have been largely disputed. The science is firm. You are gone. But the ocean is the last place on Earth where a secret your size could survive. And the fishermen who work the deep Pacific still come home with stories no one knows how to explain. Moa, giant flightless bird. You are the largest bird that ever walked the Earth. And you walked it without wings. Not vestigial wings, not small, useless wings. No wings at all. Not a single bone. At 3.6 meters tall and 250 kilograms, you moved through New Zealand's forests like a feathered tower, browsing vegetation at heights nothing else could reach. You survived every predator New Zealand produced for millions of years. You could not survive humans. Polynesian settlers arrived around 1300 CE, and within a century you were gone. A bird that had never evolved fear, had no answer for hunters who could organize, pursue, and light fires to flush you into the open. By 1400, every species of moa was extinct, or close enough. New Zealand's South Island fjordland is some of the most inaccessible terrain in the world, with valleys that have never been formally surveyed and rivers that have never been crossed on foot. Occasional reports of large, flightless animals in remote valleys have come in for decades. None have been confirmed, none have been conclusively disproven. You are almost certainly gone. Almost.
Haast's eagle.
You hunted something that weighed 250 kilograms and you took it from above. As the largest eagle ever known to exist, you weighed up to 15 kilograms, with a 3-meter wingspan and talons the size of a tiger's claws, designed specifically to punch through the spine of a moa at diving speed. You hit your prey at 80 kilometers per hour, you evolved for a single purpose, and you executed it perfectly for thousands of years. When the moa disappeared around 1400 CE, you had nothing left to eat. You followed them into extinction within years. What lingers is the oral tradition. Maori stories describe the puwa, a massive bird powerful enough to carry off human children, feared across generations of a culture that documented its natural world with precision. Researchers believe the puwa is Haast's eagle, preserved in memory long after the last one died. Occasional reports from New Zealand's backcountry describe enormous raptors unlike any known living species, birds that dwarf the Australasian harrier, which is New Zealand's largest confirmed raptor today. No physical evidence has followed any of those reports, but a predator built to hunt giants does not disappear easily from the stories people need to tell. Ivory-billed Woodpecker. They called you the Lord God bird because that was what people said out loud the moment they saw you. At nearly half a meter long, with a white bill that caught light like bone and a call that sounded like a tin trumpet, you were impossible to miss and impossible to forget. You needed old-growth forest, vast tracts of it, to survive. The logging industry removed those forests across the American South through the 19th and early 20th centuries, and you went with them. The last universally accepted sighting was in a Louisiana forest in 1944. Then, in 2004, a kayaker in an Arkansas wildlife refuge reported a large woodpecker that matched nothing in the field guides. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology launched a full expedition. They captured blurry video footage. They announced to the world that the Lord God bird was alive. The scientific community split immediately. Critics argued the footage showed a pileated woodpecker, a common species, in an unusual position. Follow-up expeditions found nothing definitive. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service declared you officially extinct in 2021. Reports from bottomland forests in the American South have continued every year since. You refuse to go quietly. Carolina parakeet. You were the only parrot native to North America, and you were perfectly designed to be hunted to extinction. Your flock stayed together when one of you was shot, every time. Hunters discovered that killing one bird in waiting was more efficient than any other method, because the rest of the flock would circle back over the body, calling, unwilling to leave. They shot everyone that returned. You were also killed for your feathers, captured for the pet trade, and poisoned as a crop pest across the entire eastern United States. The last confirmed individual, a male named Incas, died at Cincinnati Zoo in 1918 in the same cage where the last passenger pigeon had died 4 years earlier. You were declared extinct in 1939. For the next 30 years, naturalists and hunters in the remote swamps of Florida and South Carolina continued reporting small flocks of green and yellow parakeets in areas where no such bird should have existed. Those reports were investigated. Nothing was confirmed. The biology of your decline makes survival nearly impossible. What no one has fully explained is why the reports kept coming from people who had spent their lives in those swamps, who knew every bird, and who had no reason to invent you. Japanese wolf. You were sacred. The Okami, the great god, protector of the mountain villages. The wolf that farmers prayed to when deer and boar threatened their crops. Japan's two wolf species held a place in Shinto tradition that no other predator on Earth enjoyed. The Honshu wolf, the smallest wolf ever documented at just 30 centimeters at the shoulder, was systematically poisoned during the Meiji era as Japan industrialized its agriculture and decided your kind was a liability. The last confirmed individual was killed in Nara Prefecture in 1905. You have been reported in those mountains every decade since. Rural communities across the interior of Honshu describe canid animals that don't match any known species, too small and too behaviorally distinct from feral dogs, appearing in terrain that has been wolf territory for centuries. In 1996, a Japanese zoologist photographed an unidentified canid in Nara that generated serious scientific debate before disappearing from the record without resolution. Japan's backcountry is genuinely rugged and genuinely undersurveyed. Whether the mountain god survives in its forests or only in the stories of the people who built shrines to it, the sightings have not stopped. The sacred do not disappear easily. Quagga. You look like an animal that couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Fully striped on the head and shoulders, fading to plain brown by the hindquarters, you were the zebra of South Africa's dry Karoo scrubland, distinct enough in appearance that Dutch settlers gave you your own name. Hunters killed the last wild quagga in the 1870s. The last captive individual died in Amsterdam Zoo on August 12, 1883, and the keeper didn't realize the species was gone until weeks later because no one had been keeping count. Here is what they missed. You were not a separate species. Genetic analysis conducted in the 1980s confirmed you were a subspecies of plain zebra, Equus quagga quagga, defined primarily by your distinctive coat pattern. Plain zebras still show natural variation in striping today, with some individuals displaying heavily reduced patterns toward the rear. The Quagga Project, launched in South Africa in 1987, has selectively bred these low-striping individuals across multiple generations. The animals walking a Western Cape Reserve today are visually indistinguishable from historical photographs of you. Your body is gone. Your genes survived in the animals that outlived you, waiting 100 years for someone to look closely enough to find them. Giant ground sloth, Mapinguari. You were the size of an elephant and you walked upright. Megatherium americanum, the largest ground sloth that ever lived, reached 6 meters long and 4 tons, moving on its hind legs to browse vegetation at heights no other land animal could reach. Your claws were so large and so heavy that you walked on your knuckles when you moved on all fours. The same adaptation as a gorilla arrived at independently. You went extinct across North and South America roughly 10,000 years ago when human hunters arrived and worked through the megafauna systematically. Most of you. The Amazon rainforest remained, and the Amazon is not most places. Indigenous oral traditions across Bolivia, Brazil, and Peru describe the Mapinguari with consistent detail across cultures that had no contact with each other. Massive, reddish, foul-smelling, moving on 2 legs, with enormous claws and thick hide that resists arrows. Researchers interviewing elders in remote Bolivian communities in the 1990s recorded descriptions that independently matched ground sloth anatomy, including the unusual forward-facing hip socket that gave you that distinctive shuffling gait. No physical evidence has been recovered, but the Amazon still produces new mammal species every few years, and the river systems feeding its deepest interior have never been fully mapped. Steller's sea cow. You were discovered and eaten within 27 years. George Wilhelm Steller first documented your species in 1741 during a shipwreck survey of the Commander Islands in the Bering Sea. You were 9 meters long and weighed up to 10 tons, moving through kelp beds so slowly that sailors simply waded up beside you and drove harpoons in by hand. You had no fear response. You had never needed one. The North Pacific had no predator large enough to threaten you. Within 3 years of Steller's report reaching Europe, commercial hunters were making the trip specifically for your meat and fat. By 1768, the last confirmed individual was dead. Hunters moved through your entire known population in 27 years. What followed were decades of reports from Russian and American sailors describing slow-moving, kelp-grazing giants in the Aleutian chain and around the Commander Islands. Animals that matched nothing in any catalog. A formal Russian scientific investigation in 1962 concluded that a small remnant population could theoretically have persisted in remote Pacific waters. Modern marine biologists are skeptical. Your habitat is shallow and coastal and easily monitored, but 27 years from scientific discovery to total extinction is a timeline so fast that the word total has always felt slightly uncertain. Baiji, Yangtze River dolphin. You navigated one of the most dangerous rivers on Earth and survived for 20 million years. Nearly blind, you mapped the Yangtze entirely through sonar so precise it could detect a wire the width of a finger from 10 meters away. Pale and slow-moving, called the goddess of the Yangtze in Chinese tradition, you existed in a river that has carried human civilization for 5,000 years. You survived all of it. You did not survive the 20th century. Cargo shipping, fishing nets, dynamite fishing, chemical pollution, and the Three Gorges Dam dismantled the Yangtze's ecosystem in decades. A dedicated 6-week survey in 2006, covering the entire length of the river with acoustic equipment and observation teams, found no Baiji. The species was declared functionally extinct, meaning the population was too small to sustain itself even if individuals remained. In 2007, a man filmed what appeared to be a pale, dolphin-like animal surfacing near Tongling. The footage was reviewed. Nothing was confirmed. A second reported sighting came in 2016. Functionally extinct is not the same as confirmed dead. Somewhere in that gap, in a river that runs 6,300 kilometers through one of the most populated regions on Earth, the goddess of the Yangtze may still be surfacing at dawn. Dodo. You are the most famous extinct animal that no one is looking for. The last confirmed dodo died on Mauritius around 1681, on an island 45 kilometers wide, surrounded by introduced rats, pigs, macaques, and sailors who found your complete lack of fear of humans convenient. You had never needed fear. Your island had no mammalian predators before humans arrived. You nested on the ground, laid single eggs, and walked toward the things that were killing you because nothing in your evolutionary history told you to run. Within 80 years of Dutch settlement, you were gone. You appear last on this list not because your extinction is in doubt. It isn't. You are gone more completely and more documentably than any animal here. You appear because you are the answer to a question none of the others can answer. Every animal on this list has a valley it could be hiding in, an ocean deep enough to disappear into, a forest that has never been fully mapped. You had none of those things. You were on a small island with nowhere to go, surrounded by everything that would kill you, and you walked toward it. That is what extinction actually looks like. Everything else on this list is what hope looks like.